Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Detroit Sports Sit Down. My name is Tom Murphy Jr., and I'm here as always with Dan Murphy. And man, we got some good news, man. The Detroit Red Wings won the game tonight, 3-2. Dan, how you doing, man? Good night in
I, I'm,
Detroit. Is anything else going on?
I'm just ready to break down this Red Wings game, this big Red Wings preseason game, because obviously nothing else happened tonight. That's of
Oh,
note.
all right. Should we scratch that? Let's rewind. Okay, something did happen tonight. Something historic, to be honest. Well, something historic is going on, and that is the Detroit Tigers collapse. Dan, my first question to you is: are the baseball gods taking all the receipts from last season? Is that? I think everything good that happened last season all came apart in the sixth inning today. Am I looking too much into the heavens about this, or I don't understand what's going on?
Yeah, it's definitely a case of the baseball gods giveth, the baseball gods taketh away. In the span of 1 year, it is the complete opposite. The Tigers were 0.02% chance of making the playoffs last year. They went on a crazy, magical carpet ride of a season and made it one of the most, unbelievable runs you've ever seen. And they were following it up with one of the most amazing runs you've ever seen in the complete opposite direction. They were 99.9% chance of making the playoffs and winning the division. And as we sit here right now, they are currently in second place. I see a lot of publications saying it's a tie right now, but it's not a tie because Cleveland has the tiebreaker. Doesn't matter what the Tigers do the rest of the series. The Cleveland has the tiebreaker now for the season. So Cleveland is now officially in first place. The Tigers have completely blown a 15 and a half game lead.
And
Unbelievable.
are looking straight down the barrel of not even making the playoffs right
Yep.
now.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. The
Um,
Red Sox. The Red Sox won today, so the Red Sox have now jumped the Tigers, and depending what the Astros do today, the Tigers and Astros could be tied record wise. The only thing the Tigers would be clinging to is the tiebreaker with the Astros to hold the last wild card spot,
cool.
and we still got 5 games to go. So
And you just look
it's
at,
not
man,
looking
like,
good.
and what a twist like baseball is, man. Because like you said, 15 and a half, that's going to be the number that's going to have to stick with the tie. If they do collapse, which certainly looks like they're gonna, 15 and a half is going to be a number that sticks in Detroit sports for a long time. Now, we're talking about a historic collapse, not only in baseball, but in sports. So I'm wondering, like, now this is a long term, slow slide collapse. Is this more devastating in like sports history of a collapse than like a one games? Like what comes to mind is like Atlanta in the Super Bowl. Like I'm at a loss for words. Like a one game collapse is one thing, but a slow, steady collapse is a whole nother. Like what? Where do you where do you put this, like, in the realm of sports history? Like this collapse, like
Uh, in sports history, I mean, in terms of baseball, it would be the greatest collapse of all time. I was doing the research before we came on just to make sure, and that I looked, and it was 1914 Braves 15 games. So this would eclipse that by a half game. This would be the greatest, collapse of all time. And considering how many years they played baseball, Tom, it's unbelievable, man. It is unbelievable. And I'm trying to think of like what to compare it to locally in terms of just like the nightmare of I would compare it at least to the Tigers. I would compare it to the David Ortiz Grand Slam in 2013. Just when you think you had them beat, you think it was over, and then all of a sudden you give this Grand Slam, and the whole series begins to slip away from you at that point. From just a embarrassment standpoint, I would say the 119 losses, having the most American League losses of any franchise in history from 2003. I would put that up there, and maybe the 0-16 Lions in terms of all sports here locally. I don't know what to compare it to nationally, though. Like, because again, it would be the greatest collapse in baseball history. So there's nothing really else you can compare it to in baseball because it would be the greatest. I really don't know, man. It's horrible. I don't think people
Really?
are putting it in. I don't think people are really realizing the history that is being made here. It is the worst collapse in baseball history.
So where was this team just getting lucky early on? Or like how do you I don't even know where to begin to define what the problem.
I mean, there's no one
We
thing.
can definitely go
It's
there because obviously the trade deadline was atrocious. As we seen, um, but I just don't understand how a team was goes that good to that bad. So so like definitive, like this is two completely different baseball teams from one half of the season to the other. It's unexplainable.
Well, I mean, you got to look back to spring training, right? It starts with them not signing Alex Bregman. That was a big move. I mean, that was going to be their big free agent they were going to get. They thought they were going to get him. They played a game of chicken with him and they lost. And Boston swooped in and got him. And that was a crucial blow at the beginning. And then shortly after that, Parker Meadows and Matt Verlin got hurt. I mean, you knew those guys were going to be out for a while. And you didn't know if you were ever going to get anything from him. And he never got really anything from Verlin. Meadows has come on the last few weeks, last month or so, giving you a little bit something, but nothing to what he gave you last year. And for the most of the year, he's been out. So those two guys, and those were masked at the first 2 months of the season by Zach McKinstry and Javier Baez playing out of their minds. I mean, absolutely out of their minds. They played way above their capabilities for 2 months, and it got them, both into the All-Star game. But as we've seen, the water came crashing back to the level. And by the time the season is going to be over, they're kind of now back to what they normally are. And those are average players to, in Baez's case, a well below average player. And those have finally begun to show themselves and have really showed themselves in the second half of the season, have really, really shown themselves in the last month. If those guys just aren't, they're not consistent starters in a good championship team. McKinstry's a nice role player, should be a nice role player. He's not a starting all-star. Like he's not at that caliber. He's just not. And I think that just masked a lot of things. And then once those guys came back to the level, and you still didn't have Verling, and you still didn't have really Meadows for most of the time, and obviously you never had Bregman. All those things came to fruition. And then you add in the fact that the pitchers went down with Jackson Jobe. You were hoping to get, a full year from Jackson Jobe. Who knows what his ceiling could have been this season if he doesn't get hurt and have Tommy John. And then Reese Olson goes down, and you lose him for the final 2 months of the season. And all those things caught up to themselves at the, kind of the same time. You have pitching injuries, you have the hitters not performing or coming back to the level, and it just all fell apart, man.
So, okay, at this point in, people love to play the blame game. Now, Sky Harris, he can't go out and hit with runners in scoring position, right? Because these guys are just not doing it. So, but there's multiple levels to this, man. Like, Sky Harris has to take a brunt of this. Chris Ilitch, where is he at in this? He's the owner. He greenlights what Scott Harris can actually do as far as how the money moves. When they didn't get Bregman, nothing really compensated for not getting him. And it's like the frustrating thing about it is if you want to put the blame on the front office, you can. You can't put the whole 100% on it though, but you can definitely put a lot of it on. Because do you think the Bregman deal was just for show and they knew they weren't?
No. I think they were trying. I think they just didn't want to. They didn't want to overextend themselves, and they didn't want a long-term deal that was going to be worth a ton of money. I think they wanted something in the 4 to 5 year range, reasonable money. They were probably going to be willing to offer a more long-term, in terms of the long-term contract and the full length of the contract, they were probably going to offer more money than anybody else. But they weren't going to do anything in terms of opt-outs after 1 year, which is what Boston gave them. And they didn't want to go a full 7 or 8 years. So they were kind of trying to get something in the middle, and Bregman wouldn't go for it. And eventually he got the deal that he wanted from Boston and got the opt-out after 1 year. And I mean, but the problem is it took almost all the way up until spring training. So there's really nobody left,
Yeah.
But you would have thought, okay, if they're playing well, and they obviously they were one of the best teams of baseball come the trade deadline. You thought they would have made a big move. And they really didn't. They got Finnegan, which was a nice reliever until he got hurt. But other than that, they really didn't get anybody else.
In fact, what they did get ended up blowing up in their face, man. Yeah. You got these two older pitchers, especially Uncle Charlie, ends up, blowing the game to Atlanta. We release him. He goes back to Atlanta, That was a day late, dollar short on that one, man. Too bad we didn't give him up 2 weeks ago. Maybe he would have been pitching to us instead of, for us. That might have helped. But, man, I don't know. Because you got it here, man. So you got the front office. But, man, when you watch the games, these guys, they're just like allergic to hitting in prime spots. Saw it today, man. Like bases loaded, 1 out. You get, nothing out of it. Like
back-to-back strikeouts. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just, and how many strikeouts was it today, Dan? 37?
It felt like it. 19. 19 strikeouts in the biggest game of the year. And facing, obviously it wasn't all against Gavin Williams, but you just saw him last week. His stuff. You saw his stuff. And they're still swinging it, balls way outside or balls in the dirt. Wenzel Perez, that, 2 outs, bases loaded, swings, ball in the dirt at 2 strikes. It's just everything fell apart. I don't really. It's hard to really put into words and understand that you can lose, 10 of 11 in this stretch, lose your last 7 home games. It's mind-boggling. But you get in this stretch and you need somebody. You need somebody that can put the team on his back. And it's tough for a starter to do it. I mean, Skubal tried. And he's tried it, numerous times. But starters only go 6, maybe 7 innings. You're going to need, at some point, you're going to need hitters to get some runs, and you're going to need your bullpen to come in and finish games out. And down the stretch here, neither one of those things have happened. No matter what Skubal has done.
Let's talk about Skubal for a minute, because I know definitely like going into the season and then up around the trade deadline, it was kind of an exhausted topic about what do you do with Skubal? Do you trade him for the haul? Or do you run this window? And you were on a very strong side of you keep Skubal and you do what you need to do to win in this window. How has your opinion changed after, specifically tonight, when we saw the best pitcher in baseball have like a complete, meltdown, I guess you would call it. But that 6th inning was so bad that it's got you thinking some different ideas. So where are you at, Dan, with the Skubal deal now? Like, is it time? Like, do we look to trade them now and build on the guys in the farm system? Like, what do you do with this situation now?
Well, I mean, obviously, I just want to put a caveat in all this. This is assuming that they don't go on some magical run these last 5 games. And when, if they win their last 5 games, they win the division and they're in the playoffs. So, maybe we were a little bit premature, but it doesn't feel like it, considering they've lost 8 in a row and 10 of 11 and 4 straight to Cleveland, and they've just blown a 15.5 game lead. So it doesn't feel like premature, but I just want to put that caveat out there. But assuming that this does happen and this clap does happen, which it looks like it's going to, I just watching how this season has unfolded, and it started with not going all in to get Bregman. And then continuing that with the deadline when you had one of the top teams in baseball, record-wise anyways, and really not going with any all-in type moves. And I mean, not even all-in type moves, not even like partially in. They just made a lot of fringe moves. I mean, even the Finnegan move wasn't like a big move. It was a nice reliever, but it wasn't anything huge. And it just showed me that they're not committed to this core. I mean, I don't know how many more signs we need to see and for Harris to give us to say that, hey, he doesn't believe in this core that's out there right now because he's not making any all-in moves to improve it. And I think he's just building a core that's just in, single A, high A, and in Erie. And those are his guys. Those are the guys that he drafted. Those guys he went after. Those are the scouts that he hired, are the ones that those are the ones that drafted those guys. Those are his guys. The guys that are on the field tonight, the majority of those guys were not acquired by Harris. So I think the long term, like Harris has been building this for 27 and beyond, and it's almost like this success of this team has been an inconvenience to his plan, because his plan needed to be altered. You alter the plan. Like, hey, you got a gift. This team miraculously went on this crazy run last year, and they continued it into this year, into the trade deadline. You had the best record in the American League going into the trade deadline. You got to head to it. You got to adjust your plan. You might have to give up a few of those prospects that you really like, but you got to add to this team, because what does that say to the clubhouse? I mean, they might not have said anything publicly, but I guarantee some of those guys are thinking, man, really? Like, we're going to Charlie Morton, Chris Paddock, like that's what we're getting here. Like, when there's guys available, like Merrill Kelly, type starting pitcher that's out there. Even I know a lot of people kind of are back and forth on it and have different opinions about it, but even a Justin Verlander, like, to get a veteran who was pitching well, he had a couple good starts going to the deadline, but man, you could have brought him here. You could have brought him here before the season. It's just, none of the moves made sense to me in terms of, like, hey, let's try to win it this year with what we have in the position we're in. All the moves pointed to me, we're building towards the future. And if that's the case, then my mindset has to change, because obviously their mindset is we're building towards the future. So you got to trade Skubal. You have to, because he's only going to have 1 year left, and you're not going all in. You didn't make any moves this year to go all in. What makes you think they're going to make moves next year to go all in? I don't think they are. There's no reason to believe they will.
You know who's eyeing them too, man? All the big dogs, man.
All the big dogs. And what I started to think about, how the Lions develop and how the Lions built what they have, right? And obviously we're going to talk about the Lions, one of the best regular season wins we've ever seen from the Lions, okay? And how did they build, right? They built by drafting, developing, and retaining. And that's what Scott Harris said when his first initial press conference, was that they were going to draft, develop, retain, right? And guys that he wanted, and guys that own the strike zone. Exactly what we didn't see tonight, right? Owning the strike zone, absolutely not. 19 strikeouts, again, not his guys, right? So he's building towards the future, and you're going to have to trade Skubal. That's a great piece. And it's so similar to when the Lions traded Stafford. And they traded Stafford, who was, wanted to win a Super Bowl towards the end of his career. They traded him to a team that was ready to win a Super Bowl, and they got all these draft picks. So in this comparison, it would be the Tigers, which I would say some high-end prospects that are close to MLB ready, if not guys that are already in the major leagues, that fit what Scott Harris wants. And that's guys, again, we're going to own the strike zone. We're going to take quality at bats. We're going to draw a walk. We aren't going to swing at balls way outside. Even I saw, last few weeks, guys giving, like Andy Dirks and guys talking about, like, Riley Green having good at bats, long at bats. I mean, that's great, but if they end in a strikeout, who cares? Because you're swinging at ball 4 constantly. Yeah, you're fouling it off. That's great if you can continue the bat to get a hit. But if it's just going to end in a strikeout, anyways, what the difference does that make? So, I mean, just going back to it, like, Skubal, I think, is the piece to build around the core that really Harris is building around, and that's, the McGonagalls, the Max Clarks, the Brassinos, the Lorenzos, Max Anderson. These are all the guys that he drafted, and Skubal's the guy to do it. Skubal's going to give you the guys that are going to be able to build around him and build a quality team that's going to be here for a long time. And it sucks to say, because I love Skubal. Like, he's my favorite player, and it's not my opinion. It's not what I would do. I would have went it all in with Skubal for the last 2 years and try to go for a World Series. But that wasn't in the cards. That wasn't their plan.
Yeah. Let's go back to the, I don't even know the right word. Was it a meltdown from Skubal? Like,
I wouldn't say that's a meltdown. That was just
off the foul ball, foul tip. But what was your opinion on that sixth inning. Because a gamer's got to be a gamer. Like he's got to shake that off, right? And he didn't. He broke down pretty
He
much
lost his
after.
composure for sure. I mean, I think just all of it just got to him. You know, two straight bunt hits. So you get the first bunt hit from Kwan. I mean, just you think, okay, it's bad luck. You just got to buckle down and get the next guy. Well, the next guy punts, and Scooble does this weird look like he's doing a shotgun snap in football, and he just snaps it right over Torkelson's head. It's like, what are you doing? And you had more time. Like, just get the ball, compose yourself, and throw it to first. At worst, it's first and second. But what are you doing? This crazy play underneath your legs? I mean, what are you doing? Like, I've never seen anything like it before. And he throws it over Torkelson's head. And all of a sudden, after two bunts, you got second and third with no out. Unbelievable, right? And then Ramirez comes up. You're thinking, oh boy, maybe they should just walk him. He can set up a double play and out at any base. You don't want to give up a home run. Well, he swings at it and he gets a swinging bunt. Scores a run, he gets down to first. And so you basically have three straight bunts, right? And then Fry comes up and he goes to try to bunt because why not? And he gets the ball goes off the bat and into his face. And Scooble he threw his glove down, threw his hat down. He looked like he was going to start breaking down. It's like, I get it. I mean, it was rough. I mean, it looked bad. I'm sure it probably didn't sound very good. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised the guy's face is like broken, probably a broken nose, something along those lines, maybe worse.
Cheekbone,
But
something broke in that face.
Yeah, but you got to compose yourself, man.
Yeah,
like I get it. It's not great. It's not great. I know you're a human being, and I get it. And I'm not trying to be insensitive here, but the season's on the line. Man, you got to pull it together. Like, even if it wasn't getting hit in the face, like, man, you got to settle down. Like, even after the bunts, it's in that play between his legs. It's like, dude, you can't be doing that. I mean, everything's on the line here. Like, we need you. We need you to buckle down. Like, yeah, it sucks. They got two bunts down. Like, buckle down, get some strikeouts, and get out of this thing. And the whole thing just completely fell apart in one of the weirdest, strangest innings I've ever seen in my life in baseball. The Guardians score 3 runs without the ball leaving the infield. It just, I mean, but the thing is about it, Tom, like, we can talk about that inning and the craziness of it, but you let a 15.5 game lead slip away. We shouldn't even be talking about this. Like, yeah. Scooble should just be pitching like 4 innings and getting out of there just to not get rusty. Like, you should be getting ready for the playoffs. They should have the division wrapped up. They should have the 2 seed wrapped up, honestly. And the only thing they really should be battling for right now is with Toronto for the 1 seed. But they've let this thing slip away to the point where you could have a crazy, lucky, bad luck inning, basically end your season.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of that, we can wrap up on these Tigers. But so, what are you seeing in these last 5 games? Like, is it a lost cause at this point? Like, if you got 2 more in Cleveland, this thing can change dramatically with 2 straight wins, right?
Absolutely, it can. I mean, they needed to win 2 out of 3. That opportunity is still there, but you lose a Scooble start. It feels unbelievably insurmountable. But it's 2 games. You win 2 games, and you're right back in the driver's seat again. So, as much as it's doom and gloom, it's not completely over yet. And not by a long shot. You got 2 games here. You just got to go win them. You got to go win 2 games.
Yeah. But you got to hit the ball or win games.
You got to hit the ball. You're going to depend on Flaherty, who's been so up and down. You're going to need the bullpen to get outs. The bullpen's just an absolute mess. I mean, it's an absolute mess. It's just not good, man. It's just not good right now, and it's just so disappointing because it was so fun for so long, especially the first half. I mean, they're the best team in baseball.
Man, we basically got a full season of excitement from the second half of last season into the first half of this one. It was pretty cool. It's good watching baseball again. Baseball didn't matter. But just to, here we are, just getting our hearts ripped out. it for me, the hardest thing about baseball is the like with this and what's going on is the slow, painful death. Like it's every day, it's a little bit worse, just a little bit more pain. The pain gets a little bit more each day, but it's still that. Oh man, there's still a chance. It's still good because as long as we get in, if you get in the playoffs, anything can happen, and that's what we're looking at now. From being like the best team in baseball to man, I hope we get in. This is crazy to the now like just watching today, man, like it is like this was the biggest game of the season so far, and and we got to witness the entire second half of the season in one inning. Like you got to be kidding me, man. Like, but here we are.
And you
So
can say in one game too with the 19 strikeouts from the offense. You know,
like, yeah.
it just screamed home to me that this isn't the core. This isn't the group that's going to be winning championships down the road or sustained success down the road. This ain't the group. This ain't the group. And I think there's going to be a lot of big changes. I hope a lot of people didn't buy jerseys. Just gonna say it. I hope a lot of people didn't buy jerseys this year because those ain't the guys.
Yeah,
if you're gonna buy jerseys,
quite the replica.
Yeah. If you're gonna buy jerseys, you want. I always say buying a jersey is an investment because you want a jersey for a long time. You don't want a guy to just get traded the next year or within a month or whatever, or a guy just to fall off like a Baez. By Max Clark and McGonigal. Those are the guys to get jerseys from because if Harris is right and what he's building his entire job on is those guys that those guys are going to be the cornerstones. Those guys are going to be the core group in the future.
It is. That's it. That is. You can say the future is bright, I guess, because there is a dramatic shift in the farm system. We went from one of the worst to one of the best in a matter of a couple years. Scott Harris does have a lot to do with that. But man, baseball, it ain't basketball, it ain't football. Man, baseball with your prospects, it's a slow, excuse me, it's a slow process, man. So
and there's no guarantee.
Like look down at the farm and say, hey, these guys are looking good, but that ain't helping us now. That's for sure.
Yeah, and there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees. These guys might take longer. Like Torkelson was 1-1. It took him until this year to really be, a real good professional baseball player. It's sometimes guys take a long time. It might not take till they're 24, 25 years old. And if it takes that long, then we're going to be waiting a long time for sustained success. That's why I don't know, man. Just opportunities like this just don't come around very often. The American League is wide open. There's no dominant team. And you had a chance to go for it. And you have the best pitcher in baseball. I'll never understand not going for it, both in the offseason and at the trade deadline. I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, I can understand. I understand what his thinking is. He's building for the future, and he's building around the core group that's in the minors, but my question would be why? Why didn't you pivot a little bit with your thinking and your planning when you were handed this gift for a full year, the second half of last year, the first half of this year, the best team in baseball record-wise? How do you not pivot? How do you not adjust your plan? He's going to have to sleep
on it. If they do, if this collapse really does happen, which we're going to find out in less than a week, questions are going to have to be answered. Scott Harris is going to have a lot of explaining to do, and he
can do a lot of he's not going to get fired, and I don't think Hinch is going to be let go either. But I think the answers that you're looking for are going to come in the moves, in the roster moves, and there's going to be some big ones. I think some real big ones. I think Skubal has to be one. I think he does. If you're going to adjust this roster and change this roster, I think Skubal has to be one. And I think Green is going to be another. Brian and I talked about it last night on our live show, and I played the clip of Riley Green's basically saying, I don't care about strikeouts. And then I played the clip right after it of Harris talking about how he's building the entire team about owning the strike zone. So you have the face of your franchise from a hitter's perspective saying he doesn't care about strikeouts, while you have the president of baseball saying he's building an entire team based on strikeouts. So there's a little bit of a divide there, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to come to a head this offseason. I really do. I'd be surprised if it doesn't. At least I think he's going to make some calls. I think he's going to make some calls and see what he can get.
That is interesting because Riley Green, like you said, on one hand, he is the face of the franchise right now, but on the other hand, the guy strikes out left and right, man. Like he's
he'll give you a home run. I mean, he'll give you a home run every once in a while.
He did it tonight. That was a huge
he did it tonight.
Tonight. What a big home run that was. Until
it wasn't important anyway.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. All right, man. Let's wrap this Tiger stuff up, man. Let's talk to a brighter situation, man. You ready for this?
Yes, sir.
As rough as tonight was for Detroit sports fans, last night, holy smokes. Not only you, not only me, not only Brian that you mentioned, every pundit in the NFL media picked the Baltimore Ravens to win that football game on Monday Night Football. And guess what happened? Not that. Everybody was wrong except for Dan Campbell and his fighting Detroit Lions, man. These guys came out and played damn near a perfect football game. I was so frustrated week one, right? After losing to the Packers and how just dismal they look. I'm like, oh my God, just throw in the towel now, man. You can't block, you can't run. Like there's no Goff can't move in the pocket, man. They just put any type of pressure to just as a wrap, man. Where are coordinators at? Like all this after week one. And week two, you go in, demolish the Bears. That was fun. But man, oh man, you go into Baltimore on a Monday night when Baltimore did not want to go down 1-2. This is the team to pick for the Super Bowl. In the AFC, the mighty AFC, and you went in there on a Monday night and played damn near a perfect football game. All right, Dan, my first question for you with this football game is, how extreme is it from week one to week three? It's like, because I feel like we saw two different football teams in week one and in week three. How much
we did
can you put on this? Like, are the Lions now like the top team to at least win the North division, let alone the NFC, let alone the Super Bowl? Because we just went into their house and beat them like soundly. I mean, the score didn't really say it, but the Lions, you get 7 sacks on Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
When they were supposed to just run all over you. Like, so much about this football game showed me so much. So now is it like, were we too extreme on the low in week one? And are we now too high on the extreme in week three? Or like, where's this football team at right now, Dan?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to go to the adjustments they made on the offensive line after week one. And they talked a lot about, if you listen to the press conferences, they made a very big point to say that it was miscommunication, that it wasn't as so much of it was poor play or guys just getting beat one-on-ones. It was poor communication, and guys were running, you had half the line was running one play, half the line was running the other. And it looked awful because it was awful, because communication was awful. And and I expected that. Those were things that I expected. I didn't think it would look that bad in week one, but I expected that it would take some time. You got to build some continuity and some chemistry across the offensive line. You got to, get those calls right between each other. You have a brand new play caller and a brand new center. I figured it was going to take some time to get the communication down, the communication right. What is shocking to me is how quickly they fixed it. Like, they fixed it between week one and week two. And it wasn't just, okay, you thought, well, maybe, okay, it was just the Bears and, they're back at home. It's the home opener and there's a lot of energy. And they just, they just came out and played a great game. Well, no, it was actually that they really just had bad communication in the first game. because they came out against Baltimore and the offense looked just as good, if not better, on the road against a good defense, or historically good defense. Baltimore's defense might not be that good this year. Judging by how they played against Buffalo too this
Oh,
year,
don't you say that about a Baltimore
but
defense, man.
they gave up what 41 to Buffalo, and they gave up 38
Greatest
here.
defense of
So
all time for 30 years straight, man.
so,
But
but
no, you're right,
again,
man. Yeah, they exposed him a bit, man. Like you never seen Lamar Jackson that rattled before. And then he rattled Derrick Henry, who, yeah, he's long in the tooth and all that, but and he's had some critical fumbles already this year prior to Monday night. But this is still a very, very good football team, and the Lions made them look like they were running for their lives with no answers. And even with now, because I will say, but like Baltimore, they got some injuries. Um, and they played that great football game against Buffalo, but still lost. Probably thanks to Henry fumbling. But that defense didn't look great. But nobody looks great against Baltimore or against Buffalo's offense. But I wondered, what did we see last night? The Lions team becoming who they are, or did they just happen to run into a Baltimore team that's not as good as they are gonna be going down the line here?
well, I think the biggest thing that I take out, obviously, the offense played great. The biggest thing I took out of it was defense, though, the Lions' defense and the game plan they had to shut down Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. Because the first drive, I'm like, oh man, this is exactly what I thought it was going to be. They're just going to run right through them, just like they always do. They can't stop running quarterbacks. They can't stop, zone read. Any teams that have running quarterbacks that they utilize, in the run game, a lot like Baltimore does with Lamar Jackson. The Lions can never stop them. They've never been able to stop them in the Campbell regime. Are really going back, years, but especially during Campbell's era here, they haven't been able to stop it. It's been their kryptonite. And they had a fantastic game plan. They were able to they said 7 sacks to Lamar Jackson. And then they held Derrick Henry, I think, after the first drive. He only had 22 yards the rest of the game, plus a key fumble. That's as much as you can ask for. It's crazy that they still scored 30. It was 6 of those points were kind of garbage points at the end, but still, they still put up 30, and it felt like the Lions defense really played great, but they contained them. And that's what they needed to do. They had to contain them, and they were able to shut down the running game to a degree to force some third and longs and force Lamar Jackson into, a third and medium and third and long situations. And that's where you can beat Baltimore. You're not going to beat Baltimore if you're getting a lot of 2nd and 2s, 3rd and 1s. Baltimore's going to destroy you if they're constantly in those situations. But if you can get them in 3rd and longs, 3rd and mediums, that's where you can beat them. And that's where the Lions were able to do. And especially in that 4th quarter, you were really able to get that pass rush going. And you really saw Aiden Hutchinson getting going and taking over a little bit towards late in the game. So that's what I was impressed more than anything was Kelvin Shepherd's game plan and then just the way the personnel played. Everybody contributed. You have to, like, all the 11 guys have to contribute. When you face a team like that, you face a quarterback like that can escape and can run like Lamar Jackson can. Like you get one-on-one opportunities with Lamar Jackson, you have to make that tackle. And it felt like every time they made the tackle, like Lamar Jackson couldn't get away. And he talked about it in the press conference. He's like, yeah, they were doing different stunts and they'd had a spy on me. And then I'd be one-on-one with the spy and he'd grab my leg and get me down. It's just, stuff just happens sometimes. It's like, well, the Lions just play great. Like everybody to a man played great in that game.
Now let's talk about, I think our defensive MVP, especially coming out of pretty much nowhere, because I think to a man, people would agree that the opposite edge of Hutch would be the weak spot, and it was all these things: go get so and so, go get so and so. The list was long for a minute there, and then the famous quote. When we didn't even sign Zadarius Smith back again was, we're good. And it's like, oh, really? Because Davenport just got hurt again. Surprise.
He's on the IR again.
But guess who showed up, man? So maybe Dan Campbell kind of knew, but where was this in preseason? And I'm talking about Muhammad, what a game he had last night, stepping up out of nowhere. Kind of, I would guess, call him like a journeyman. Never really found his fit, but he found it last night. This dude came to play, and is this a flash in the pan kind of deal, or because if you can get that kind of pressure out of Muhammad on that, you call it the weak side, I guess. Get that pass rush when Hutchinson is getting the attention and he can sustain this, there's going to make for a nasty, nasty D line because the whole D line played great, and we still got McNeil coming. Now he's inside, but still, you bring McNeil into this fold with Mohammed playing at this level, and then you got the linebackers playing. Like Anzalone had another good game. Jack Campbell, he's looking like he's coming into his own, right? Dude, you want to define grit right there? Dude's bleeding out his face, man. Just calling defensive plays, man. Like, give me back in the stitch or something. Give me back in the game. It's pretty much what he said, and that's what happened. And he kept playing. So we're all of a sudden what we thought might be a weak spot at linebacker and weak side edge looked like a strength last night. So, wow, what a difference a couple weeks makes, right? Like,
Yeah.
is this sustainable? Is this what we're going to see in the future? Where are you at with Muhammad? Are you going to wait and see, or are you like, okay, this guy's legit, he fits right in?
I think it's still a little bit of more of a wait and see with him. Can he do it consistently? But also the depth of it. Who else do they have behind him? There ain't much left after that. He was already a backup. Um, so my opinion is not going to change. I saw some comments like, "Oh, everybody was complaining about the D end. Do you still need a D end?" Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do, because there's not a lot of depth there. One guy goes down, like we saw last year. God forbid Hutch goes down, you got nothing. I mean, there is no depth there. But as long as Hutch is healthy and playing at the ability that he can play at, like he played at last night, especially in the second half and in the fourth quarter, if he's playing like that, like you're gonna get one-on-ones, whoever is on the opposite side, and there's gonna be a good chance they're gonna do well on that side, regardless of who it is. If they're an NFL caliber player, even if they're second, third string, they're gonna make some plays because Hutch is gonna get so much attention because he's one of the best, if not the best, defensive ends in the game. So yeah. You still seeing it, man. He's getting double teamed, he's getting chipped. I mean, they're complaining about guys, diving at his knees, diving at his legs. And those things are going to happen. He's going to have to fight through that because all that stuff's coming for him. I mean, it's all coming for him. So he's got to play through that, and he's still finding ways to wreak havoc. So as long as that's strong and that you got that side, I think they're going to be okay. So I think that's more what Campbell was saying. Hey, we're good, because I think they did like Muhammad, and they know what they got in Hutch. But my point would be like, yeah, what's past that though? Like you got to have some depth. You got to have more depth, and there's no reason why you didn't sign Zadarius Smith. I'll never get off of that. Like, there's no reason why they didn't bring him in. The only thing I would say though, with that, I was thinking about this. Okay, last year at the trade deadline, right? Zadarius Smith was the guy they picked up. Okay, so let's say Muhammad continues to play well, maybe not as well as he did last night. That was pretty incredible game, but just continues to play well. And Hutchinson is Hutch, and they stay healthy. When you get to the trade, then maybe a couple corners go down, and that becomes the position that you really need. Well, you kept your cap space in your assets for the trade deadline to go get a corner. So maybe that in that aspect, they're just kind of keeping their options open a little bit until they get to the trade deadline, and then they see what they need. And if it is at the end, they can go out and get a D end. They have the assets to do it. But maybe it's another position. You never know what's going to happen. And, injuries are going to happen, but you don't know what position group's going to take it the most. Yeah. Obviously, last year it was really the defensive line towards the end, and they went out and got Zadarius Smith. Maybe this year it's a different position, and they're keeping their options open to go get somebody. That was the only thing I could think of why you wouldn't sign.
It's a different time now in the NFL where the trade deadline is, in recent years, has definitely become more active than it has been in the past. So, maybe let Holmes cook still a little bit more. Because I came in because I believe me after what I saw last night, I'm okay with whatever that dude does. I still have questions, obviously, still about the D line, still about that edge rusher. But man, you know, maybe they know something we don't, and hopefully they do because that's why they get paid the big bucks and we get no money to talk about it. But all right, so one bad spot, but maybe a bright spot on that defense is Terrion Arnold. Uh, Now I still like cornerback in the NFL. It's the hardest. It's got to be the hardest position in sports, right? Like just like the equality of it, man. Like it's just so hard to not get a foul. And but Terry Arnold, man, he's getting torched, man. People are getting on him. He had a better second half than he did the first. But at the same time, man, that's a prolific Baltimore offense, and they're gonna score points. Is Terrion Arnold, is he serviceable? Is he a weakness? Was that a bad draft pick all around? Or like and I'm curious to know, Dan, did you hear about JMO's little brother?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
basically talking trash about Arnold. Like, okay, so like I want your full opinion on Arnold. And do you think that like this little Instagram thing with JMO's brother, is that was that a non-starter, or is that something that could cause dissension in that locker room, which Dan Campbell seems to have a hold on regardless? But is that
Yeah.
is that
Well,
something?
I'll start with the second question first. I would hope that JMO will go to Arnold Big. Hey man, it came out. My brother's an idiot. Don't worry, don't worry about it. And just smooth it over right then and there. Nip that in the butt right away. I would hope. Because if he doesn't, it could fester into something. I wouldn't think so though. Like that's all it takes. Just a silly comment like, "Hey man, my brother's an idiot. Don't worry about it. You're fine." Something along those lines. Just go up and talk to him. Like, that's all it takes. Just communication. Just be cool about it. I don't think that'll end up being a big deal. And if it does become a big deal, Campbell will take care of it. I just don't. Their
Yeah.
locker room is too good, and that culture is too good for something silly like that to blow up. So,
Why's that gotta be
regard.
J-Mo? No, man. Or even not him. Why does J-Mo gotta be involved, man? Like, he just needs to not be involved in nothing but scoring touchdowns, man.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I mean,
not.
it's nothing he can do about it. It's not like he said it. His brother said it. So hopefully he says something to his brother and he says something to Arnold and just ends that thing right there.
Yeah,
So
hopefully.
I would assume that will end up being a non-issue. We don't even hear about it
But
coming
just
up.
his
Hopefully.
play going forward, do you think this is obviously there's going to be growing pains? Like I said, cornerback, it's tough, tough, tough to play. And he did bounce back a bit in that second half. But where are you at with Terran Arnold? Because if this team and this defense is going to be Super Bowl worthy, Terran Arnold's a big part of that because he can't get abused.
Yeah, he's got to be better. I mean, he's got to be better. It's his second year. You would hope to start seeing him. It may not necessarily be a lockdown corner, but be a serviceable starter. And he's definitely getting attacked, and he's definitely still has issues with penalties, and that's got to be fixed. He's got, I mean, he's got to be better because they don't have corners. They don't have a ton of depth there. I mean, Amik Robertson is played good in spots, but I think they prefer more him being the third, kind of nickel corner, playing more of the slot. So he's got to step it up. He's the kind of the one, if you want to call it a weak spot, he's the one weak spot really on the whole team right now, especially on that defense. Um, so we'll see, man. He's still only a second year player. I think he has time to grow and get better and improve. Especially corner, man. Sometimes it takes time at corner. It's just one of those spots, man. Because it's a different game than it is in college. College, you're allowed to get away with a little bit more hand grabbing, a little bit more, grabbing the jersey and hand fighting and that. They don't allow a lot of that in the NFL. Like they want scoring. They want big plays. Like they're gonna call it. Even if it's kind of going back and forth, it's going to go on the defense. It always does. So he's got to continue to adjust and continue to learn and continue to grow, and he's got to continue to develop. But he's definitely got to get better because his play so far has not been good enough.
So we kind of know where we're at with the defense. Showed up, showed out. The offense really did as well, man. They went punch for punch in that first half, and then kind of took over in that second half as the defense wreaked havoc. Um, the Jared Goff situation, or the question remains, and it will remain until Jared Goff is no longer the quarterback here, as he is not Lamar Jackson. He is not even close as far as when it comes to moving in the pocket, recognizing when to go, when to throw, and he's not gonna be elusive at all, right? We know that about Jared Goff, but this dude does find ways to consistently win ball games, and he throws some dimes, man, when it's time. Like that fourth down to Amon Ra, that was picture perfect. Like, so is Goff? Where? What is Goff? Is he a top 15? Is he a top 10? Is he a top 5 quarterback? Like, because
I
pocket
think he's still,
passers, and
I
they're
think he's
not
still a fringe top 10 quarterback.
fringe top 10.
But we've seen what he is. We know what he is right now, and what we saw in week 1 when the offensive line isn't good and they're not picking up blitzes and they're giving up rushes. He's a sitting duck back there. Like it's not going to be good. The whole offense is going to crumble if the offensive line isn't there. That's the difference between Goff and some of these other quarterbacks, between the Mahomes. You look at Aaron Rodgers in his prime. You look at Josh Allen right now. Even Lamar Jackson. Even the Lions kind of contained him yesterday, but still, Lamar Jackson still had a good game. He had 300 yards, passing. He just didn't run as much as he normally does. But Jalen Hurts, Jane Daniels, all these guys. If the pocket collapses, they can get out and make things happen. They're not as completely dependent on their offensive line as Jared Goff does. Jared Goff needs everything around him to be right. But when everything around him is right, I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And we saw that the last 2 weeks, and we saw it last night on Monday Night Football and national stage. I mean, some of those throws, I don't. There are very few quarterbacks that make those throws. Yeah. The throw that to Amon-Ra for the touchdown in the corner of the end zone. I mean, that was perfect. I mean, an absolute perfect throw. And then obviously the fourth and 2, when they had to have it. If they don't get that, man, Campbell's getting killed in the media, and there's potential they could lose that game. They put it all on the line on that play to try to end it, try to put the dagger in, and he just threw it perfect throw, a perfect call. St. Brown ran it perfectly. He looked like he was going to block, and then he went out on the route. It was a perfect call, perfect run route, and just an absolutely perfect throw when you had to have it. You can't ask for anything more, in terms of a traditional drop back quarterback. You can't ask for anything more. But in this day and age, we see so many of these quarterbacks that are so elusive, and a lot of times your best athlete is at the quarterback position. And they're not as dependent on everything else around them to be perfect. They can make plays on their own. If nothing else is going on, the routes aren't good, the receivers can't catch, the line is terrible, they can still find ways to make plays with their legs and get first downs by running. So Goff isn't that, and we have to accept that he's not that. But that's the thing that makes it tough, though, because everything has to be perfect. So if the offensive line is struggling, or if you get some injuries on that offensive line, you're going to have issues.
Yeah. All right. It's kind of a off-topic question, but from like a media standpoint, or like from a fan watching the game, when Amon-Ra caught that touchdown, he got caught on a hot mic. And you catch that one? Yeah. What? Yeah, I did, just being like in the like media and stuff and just watching games. Like, do you put blame like on the coverage of like sports media being too like keeping that hot mic right there, or do you blame like is the Sun guy supposed to be contained in that moment and not kind of go off the rails a bit with what he said?
Tough, man. It's tough. You would like to see him be a little bit more, professional, a little bit more understanding of the situation. I mean, he's looking right into the camera. I mean, like you gotta know the spot here. It's national television. You're looking right into the camera after a touchdown. Yeah. You would like to see him be a little bit more professional, but at the same point, man, these guys, man, they're going to battle. You know what I mean? Like they're putting themselves in a totally different mindset that none of us can really understand when they go out and put those pads on and play an NFL football game. So things that are said, things that are done, I think have to be viewed a little bit more leniently when you understand what those guys are going out and doing. You know, they're putting their bodies on the line. They're going to battle. Like they're going to battle. And things are going to be said, things are going to be done that you wouldn't see just you know in the backyard barbecue or something. You know what I mean? Like things are going to happen. Like
Dude,
so
I'll tell you, man. Like even when I was playing high school football, I wouldn't drop the M bomb, obviously, but a few cuss words flew out of my mouth. Like when I was in the heat of battle in high school football. So you just imagine when you get to that level with all these alpha males just going at it. Now, well, I was a little shocked. I was like, whoa, like that's a lot, buddy. You got a butt. At the same time, I was like, yeah. So for me, I wasn't worried too much about it. And it was funny because if you were watching the post game stuff with Scott Van Pelt, he brought it up because St. Brown came. Did you catch this?
I didn't see that. Yeah, I didn't see
I
that
did.
man
Yeah, he
coach.
came out like very shortly after the game and sat down at the booth. They were live on the field and all that. And he did. Scott Van Pelt, he's like, hey, kind of caught a little hot mic there, man. He's like, oh, yeah, my Rod's like, yeah, sorry, I just want to apologize, So, but he explained it perfectly, basically what you just said, man. Heat of the battle, stuff like that. I was interested by that, about your thoughts on it, because these guys are, man, like the NFL is like, it's all like trying to be family friendly, and but at the same time you got like dogs going out for battle, so like things are gonna come out, things are gonna be said. Don't shove a mic in the face. It always brings me back to my favorite post-game interview of all time, and that's uh, uh,
Richard Sherman
yeah, God, I was blanking on it, man. With
and Aaron Andrews.
oh God, it was, man. Like one of the greatest plays ever, one of the best defensive plays ever. He knocks it away, and Richard Sherman, and he just—that's what you get, That's what you get. He just lights it up, man. And people were like scared for Aaron Andrews, like, oh, why would he be so aggressive to a female reporter? Well, maybe because he just made one of the biggest plays in, I don't want to say football history, but like that was an NFC championship game, and he made the winning play, and they shove a mic in his face 30 seconds later. When he just, oh, yes, Miss Andrews, it was a pretty good play. I did my best. I just want to thank my teammates. Like, no, you're not going to get that. What do you think you're going to get?
And plus, they were arch rivals,
Yeah.
Seattle and San Francisco at the time.
And
Crabtree and Sherman were rivals.
Rivals themselves, man.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, Crabtree. Like, I'll never forget it, man. That's one of my favorites. But I was curious about your point on it, because it's such a fine line, because it is, man. There's kids watching, but at the same time, it's football, man. Going at it. But yeah, so I want to lead into that, like with these guys, man, like St. Brown, man, how good do we got it right now on offense with this core of offense? Like, let alone how the offensive line showed up and played, but how about Sonic and Knuckles and St. Brown? Like, the three of these guys are just this nucleus of weaponry.
Yeah.
You ain't seen nothing like it.
And David Montgomery was thought to be maybe one of those guys that were going to be slowly weeded out. I said, nah, not so fast.
No.
Not so fast, man. That might be the best I've seen him as a Lion. What he did last night, man. He had everything. I mean, the speed, the agility, making guys miss, running guys over, the power runs. I mean, everything you could want in a running back. It was unbelievable what he was doing last night. I think one of the best games he's had as a Detroit Lion. And man, he thought maybe this season that it would be more that Gibbs would start taking more of the carries. Maybe, there's a little bit of me that maybe was worried that maybe Montgomery would start wearing down a little bit. All the hits that he takes and how hard he runs. And, he had the injury last season towards the end of last year. He thought, maybe he wears down a little bit and Gibbs starts taking more of the load. No, man. He's as good as ever. He's as good as ever. And it doesn't take anything away from Gibbs because Gibbs is still phenomenal too. And it's two different style runners, and they're just
the 1-2 punch.
Continue to complement each other.
No. And I got to shout out Joe couldn't be here tonight, but he's usually with us on the Detroit Sports Sit Down. Now, me and him were a matchup. I know you don't love getting into fantasy, but I got to shout Joe out because this is so classic. He was beating me by over 20 points last night. He was done scoring, and I only had Montgomery. And I had about, what do they say, like less than a 20% chance to win. And then Montgomery just kept getting me points, man. So I ended up not even just winning. I ended up blowing him out by like 20. So what a beautiful thing to beat Joe, especially in that dynamic. Because he would just like, don't give it to Montgomery. Don't give it. Oh, my God. He's going for 70 yards. Oh, my God. And then that last touchdown, the sealer was the one. And he broke out. It's like, oh, my God, he's going to go in the end zone. He's going in the end zone. So shout out to Joe for taking that L. Thanks to Montgomery. I know that had to be bittersweet for him. But, man, nothing like winning a fantasy football game over an arch rival thanks to Knuckles. Right? He's Knuckles, right? Yeah, because he's tougher. Yeah. Oh, man. It was just, dude, all around, though, man. Just okay, man. Like, what a satisfying football game to watch as a Lions fan. So, it sets the tone now, right? Does this team now look like the best team in football? Buffalo, obviously, right there. The Packers, the Packers fell to Cleveland. They were scaring the bejesus out of us for a minute there. But now it's week 3. So is it a good time to get high on this team now? Is it time to buy as the best team in the NFC?
Well, yeah. I mean, you look at their schedule coming up. You got Cleveland and you got Cincinnati. Cincinnati now doesn't have Burrow, so that looks obviously way much easier of a game than you thought. And then Kansas City does not look like the same Kansas City, at least right now. They always have a way of kind of turning things around and getting going, but right now they do not look good. I think the Lions would be favorites. I think the Lions. You look at the next 3 games, the Lions are going to be favorites off their games, even the game at Kansas City. So things are looking good. I mean, that Baltimore win last night was so huge for them going forward because it's a game that nobody thought they were going to get. Everybody does. You pick your wins and losses before the season. Everybody picked that as an L. It's just an obvious L because you're not going to pick them to go, 17-0. So you got to pick a few L's. That's an L everybody picked, and even the day of, everybody picked it as an L.
The boys in the locker room.
Yeah, everybody but them, obviously. But so to get that win, after these first 3 games, you thought if they could go 2-1, you'd feel pretty good about it. Feel real good about it, really. And there's no doubt about it. You feel really good. And now the schedule has kind of gotten a little bit easier on you, which we talked about before the season. Though that happens. Like the schedule looked incredibly daunting. There's talking one of the toughest schedules ever, but it always has a way of kind of evening out a little bit. If you think it's going to be incredibly tough, it always has a way of getting a little bit easier. And vice versa. If you think you got a really easy schedule, all of a sudden it gets a lot tougher than you anticipated it being. So, and that's kind of the way it's going right now. So, to get this win was huge. A road win against a Super Bowl contender on primetime Monday Night Football. You showed the world who you are. Just absolutely huge.
Yeah. All right, Dan, we can wrap this up here, but I just want to know, was there any other surprises or anything that really stood out from last night's game that we didn't touch on that you were curious about? Because like I said, man, this was an all around, as perfect as it can get. Really,
I would say the last thing I would say about the whole game, Tom, and my biggest takeaway more than anything, is they were able to shut down after the first drive, pretty much able to shut down or at least contain pretty well one of the best running games in the game and maybe the best running quarterback in the game, in an offense that utilizes their quarterback in the run game maybe better than anybody. And that's been a problem for the Lions the entire Campbell regime. It was a problem under Aaron Glenn, and maybe they have the answers now. And if they do, if they have the answers to it, obviously everything relies on guys staying healthy and all that, obviously. But from a game plan perspective, that's the best game plan. In my opinion, the best game plan they've ever had going into a game like that against a running quarterback. And that is what I took out more than anything, because if they have that and they have some answers to that, that's been the one main issue that's given them problems. So that was very, very exciting to see that last night.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, for me, it was just the way this team has responded the past 2 weeks. With all the questions coming into the season and that disaster in Lambeau, which admittedly, I was shook, man, after watching that. I was shook. I was like, oh my God, this, what a nightmare, We suck again, is what I thought was coming down our way this season, man. Like, oh, but no, not even close. And now we're on top of the world. And now it's, you take it game by game. Now, like, you're one of the top teams and you can take it game by game. And this daunting schedule does look easier, Dan. It looked like a murderer's row for a while there. And now, like you said, things are kind of shaping up a little differently, man. But that's the NFL, man. Things change dramatically from week to week, let alone a few weeks down the road or whatever, because some things happen, man. Most of these NFL games, man, they're decided by a few points, a few key plays here and there. So you lose a couple games you should win. This season looks way different, just a few weeks down the road. But now this schedule does not look as difficult as it did when the season started. So now we're back to looking like kings of the North. And that's kind of what I wanted my final question for you, Dan, to be. What a weird weekend for the NFC North, where Chicago and Minnesota, I don't want to say right the ship, but they at least look like competitive football teams. And Green Bay loses to Cleveland and scores 10 points. Or wait, I don't even remember what the score is.
13-10 was the final.
13-10, yeah, 13-10, yeah. Scores 10 points against Cleveland. Oh, it's just not a good football team, right? So where are you at with the NFC North? Is this division as good as advertised at the beginning of the season and things are just shaking out? Or should we be less concerned about Green Bay? Was that a one-off with them? Are Minnesota and Chicago like viable at all? Like, are they anything to be feared? Like, or are you right now after week 3 thinking the Lions should and do own this division?
I still think it's them in Green Bay. I thought it was them in Green Bay before the season, and nothing has changed. And I think that Thanksgiving game is going to be absolutely huge when they play each other. I think it might be one of the bigger Thanksgiving games we've ever seen. I think it's going to be huge. I think both teams are going to be Super Bowl contenders when they get there. I think they're going to continue this battle for the division throughout. And I think they're the clear 2 best teams in the division. And it's going to be a battle to the bitter end between these 2 teams. I really do. You got to give the edge to Green Bay. I know the Lions had this huge win, but Green Bay took it to them in week 1. And we can say it was, miscommunication. It was issues with the offensive line and, them making their calls and things like that. But at the end of the day, Green Bay has the upper hand right now. Like, Green Bay is still first place because they got the tiebreaker, right? And we'll see when they play each other again in Thanksgiving. But and I wouldn't count out Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland, that's who the Lions got. The Lions are going to have to play them on a short week, coming off this huge win. And Cleveland's tough, man. You got Myles Garrett and Mason Graham they're a dominant duo, and that defensive line is no joke. And if the Lions, we're going to find out truly how shored up things are on the offensive line when they play Cleveland next week, because those guys are just unbelievable. I mean, Mason Graham had an incredible game, and we all know what Myles Garrett brings to the table. So That is not going to be an easy game. Just because, it's Cleveland, they've been bad for a while, and they're kind of a joke what they've been doing with the quarterback situation. But that D line is no joke, and you can ask Green Bay fans like what they think of that D line, because they just made that whole day a nightmare for them, to the point where the Green Bay messed around and blew the game. But it goes back to that, how well that defensive line played, how much they shut Green Bay's offense down. So it will be an interesting test for the Lions. But I'm not going to say Green Bay sucks now because they lost to Cleveland. Sometimes those things just happen. You have a bad game, and you have a bad game plan, and you face a D line that just wreaks havoc. So both teams are 2-1, and I think it's going to be a battle throughout the whole season.
Yeah, I agree. That's what they always say, man. The other guys get paid too. But it was, man. I was blown away watching that game. To be honest, man, that was one score I did not predict. Man, I did not think Green Bay was going to lose to Cleveland. But they did, and here we are. I know the NFL season, man. It's early, but it goes quick, man. Things can change in a hurry, as they did for our Detroit Lions. So I publicly shamed them, man. I was furious, man, after week 1, as I think we all were. But I'm singing a different tune now. That's for darn sure. All right, buddy. What a polar opposite show today, man. From super disappointing to super happy. That's what we got. This next I guess the next week, man. We got 5 games for the Tigers. 2.
Well, it was fun. I'll leave it on this. So I was talking to people at work, obviously, about both the Tigers and the Lions. I said, man, it would have been nice if the Lions could play every day and the Tigers just played once a week. It would make my enjoyment level a lot better from day to day. But no, that's not the case. One team has been an absolute nightmare, and one team has, without question, right the ship and had one of their best games we've seen last night. So, yeah.
Forward down the field, man. All right, buddy. Well, let's go Tigers. I got a couple of big ones coming up, man. Hopefully next week we got something fun to talk about instead of continuing this historic. I don't want this. I don't want to be part of this history. I don't want this at all. So let's just go out and win 5 straight games, get in the playoffs, get hot, win the World Series, and then go win the Super Bowl. How about we win the World Series and the Super Bowl this year?
Sounds good. Sounds good to me.
All right. Hey, it's possible. It's still possible. Not likely.
It is.
I wouldn't bet on it. But it's possible. All right, Dan. It's been fun, buddy. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to the Detroit Sports Sit Down. Good night.